What's up, everyone? Welcome to Pat's Chat. I'm Doug Kyed, joined as always by Michael Hurley. You know what? The commenters have spoken. This is now a Disney podcast.
Yeah, this is all we're going to do is break down the best lightning lane strategies, individual lightning lanes. What's the new thing called? Multi-pass. We are professionals at it, and that's what we're good at. So why would we? I actually came with a leadoff thought, Doug, actually.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I was scanning Twitter before you joined the old podcast here, and I came across a TMZ Sports post that we should probably break down. And here's your headline: Jimmy Butler's shorts stained during Mavericks game, comma, fans suspect poo.
I did see this.
So it is what it is. I don't know. Once the fans suspect poo, you've lost the war.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, once poo or like a fart has been suspected, then yeah, it's all over for you.
That's where we are in the sports calendar. That's where I want to start. Friday, February 14th, we've got fans suspecting poo being our top story.
Happy Valentine's Day to everyone. We will discuss the Patriots, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Not a whole lot. I would say that like usually we start off with some sort of news, whatever. I think the biggest news items have been that Jeremiah Farms signed a 2-year extension. The Patriots are bringing back Kyed Jackson. So that's where we're at, as you mentioned.
Well, the Red Sox signed Alex Bregman. So
that is true.
That's Pat's adjacent.
How?
Hats, chat. Red Sox, they wear hats.
That is true. Okay.
And they used to have Tom Brady, Ty Law, Lawyer Millay throw up first pitches. So
that is true.
They're close.
Maybe they could get Jeremiah Farms and Kyed Jackson this year.
I doubt it. But because we're a Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes podcast, just talking about first pitches there, you know what people don't get in that GOAT debate? Did I already bring this up?
I don't know.
Tom Brady won his fourth, like after 10 years of fighting for it. In his first public appearance, he showed up at Fenway for the first pitch wearing a big ass 5 from neck to belly button, just like, I'm here to win more. And everyone's like, oh my God. It's like, does Mahomes have that psychosis? I doubt it. That's what people miss.
Yeah, that is true. And was that when Gronk dented the Lombardi, or was that 2 years later?
Who knows? I think it was 2 years later when he bunted with it, and then he did the jersey steal. Remember, he stole Brady's jersey. I'm like, one of these guys is going to tear an ACL. This is dumb. This is a dumb stunt.
I know, like, we kind of made a big deal about him denting the Lombardi, but I feel like that could have been made a bigger deal out of. It's just like probably the funniest, most Gronk thing you could do.
Right.
It's like permanently damage your trophy.
Here's a topic. Here's a debate topic for you. Is it weird that they make a new Lombardi every year and just give it to the team that wins it? Or is it normal as opposed to like the Stanley Cup where there's one Stanley Cup? Well, there's two actually, but the team gets the real one and the fake one sits in the Hall of Fame all year for fans to look at. And then you give it up after your year, you know, you cede it back to the league because it's no longer yours. Which one's more normal? I guess they make a lot of World Series trophies. Like you can buy one as a player.
I think you can buy a Lombardi trophy as a player too. So
yeah,
because doesn't Bill Bill has his own Lombardi trophies, right? Doesn't he have those like behind him on some of his appearances?
It could be, but like you can't buy a Stanley Cup. I guess imagine that. Imagine how unwieldy that would be in your house, just like a big, giant Stanley Cup.
When was the Stanley Cup first made?
So it started out pretty small, and then it just kept growing and growing and growing. I want to say the 30s, but I'm going to look it up because
I feel like things were made sturdier in the 30s. I don't think that if you can damage and dent a Lombardi trophy by bunting with it, imagine what that thing would look like if it was passed from team to team to team.
Yeah, it would be non-existent. So how's this for the commissionship of the Stanley Cup? 1892. How do you like that?
Wow.
1893 it was awarded. The one we see now is like the third one, I think. I don't know. I used to know this stuff. I've been to the Hockey Hall of Fame, but I just find it interesting. There's a new Lombardi every year. It kind of ruins, like there's some at the Patriots Hall of Fame. That's where they keep them, right?
I think so.
But does Brady
or are they in like Kraft's office, or are those replicas also?
I don't know. Once you introduce a false trophy, what is real? We don't know anymore. Everything is fake once one thing is fake.
That is true. I guess which one was it, a real Lombardi trophy that was dented, or was it one of the fakes?
I think it was. Like when the team
too?
shows up to throw a first pitch, they should have the real one, right?
You would think so, yeah.
I don't know. We need a Netflix.
Unless this was all a ruse.
It'd Be a very boring Netflix documentary, but I would watch it as long as it was under 15 minutes.
Where is the Hockey Hall of Fame in Canada?
Toronto, Ontario.
Makes sense.
It's decent. You know,
Have been. I've never been to Toronto, actually. I've been to Vancouver. I've been to Montreal. I've been to Whistler. I think that's in Canada, but never been to Toronto. Maybe I should go.
Toronto's cool. It's like a big city. You know, when you go around the world, I'm world traveled, no big deal. When you hit the big cities, you're kind of like, yeah, it's a big city. They're not
It's a big
all
city.
that. No, I've never been to like Asia. And like, I
Right.
feel like there's a different in like your Hong Kongs and your Beijings
Mhm.
and Tokyos. But like, I went to Sydney and I was like, I could be in Detroit right now. Well,
You've been to
Detroit's
Australia?
yeah,
When was
that's my
that?
college.
Wow.
I had a friend studying abroad, so I just slept on his floor for like 10 days.
That's sweet. I wanna go
Didn't
to
see the
Australia.
kangaroos though.
Maybe I can
Nope.
go back to college and make a friend who's going there and then sleep on his
Yeah,
floor.
not to brag. Not to brag.
All right, I asked for some mailbag questions for my weekly piece on the Herald. There were too many of them. So
Wow.
I want to get into some here on this podcast, give us a topic to talk about. I am going to be gone for most of next week, so we won't be doing a podcast
Tell
till
him
next
why.
Monday or
Tell him why.
Monday.
Tell him why.
As you all know, I'm going to Disney World. Going to stop at Universal on the first day. We'll get into more Disney World talk at the end because people love it. We got to save the best for last.
Are you gonna ride Tron?
I have written Tron.
Tron's sick.
Olivia's too scared of it. Jen is too scared of it.
That means you can just pay $11 and go on by yourself. It takes 10
right.
minutes.
So I could just like if like they have to go to the bathroom or something, I'll just like run on Tron. Yeah, it's a good plan. If they have to go to the bathroom,
usually you do over the course of a day. There's usually
you would think so.
Pat's chat.
Let's do the first one here, because I think this is an interesting topic, and I actually answered this one, but I wanted your opinion on it as well because I was kind of surprised by the findings. Okay. So, Cheeseburger Posse, great Twitter handle. Coaching staff aside, how much worse was last season's roster than 2021? My take is that it wasn't that much worse of a roster. And if McDaniels took that 2021 roster to the playoffs, after improvements are made with the assets you point out, plus Drake May's second year, eyeball emoji. So I wanted to go through this a little bit because, like I said, I think it's kind of an interesting topic.
Are we just talking offense or are we going all 53?
I think it's worth going all 53.
I'm gonna quote Doug on this one before you get into your answer. And you can certainly lead this one. But I recall last year when you were doing your roster projections, it was the hardest you've ever had, not because you couldn't get to 50. It's because you couldn't actually get 53 players worth making the roster. So
right. Yes.
I would be curious to see if 2021 has any comparison to that.
Okay. So at quarterback, would you rather have Brian Hoyer, Mac Jones, and Jarrett Stidham, or Jacoby Brissett, Drake May, and Joe
Moving on. Drake May.
Right. So already we got a 2024 winner here, right?
Big, important position too, I would say, quarterback.
2021, and we won't go through all the players, but like you got Damian Harris, Ramondre Stevenson, and Brandon Bolden as the top running backs there. Last season, it was Antonio Gibson, Michael Hasty, and Ramondre Stevenson.
I mean, that was Damian Harris's best year.
It was.
And it was Stevenson's rookie year?
It was.
That was better in 2021.
It was. It's like that one's pretty close though, right? Kind of surprisingly close.
I mean, Harris was a good back.
He was. Like the fact that he's out of the league 2 years later, whatever it is now, doesn't bode super well. But like he had a really good season. He had like 14 rushing touchdowns, something crazy like that.
15.
929
yards. Yeah, he was good. Damian Harris was good. He wasn't like
and then
Alvin
I think
Kamara,
like
but he was great.
And then when you toss in like on paper, last year's looks a lot better, but with Ramondre Stevens fumbling issues as well, that hurts the case for 2024.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bad. It's hard to judge with the offensive line, but it is what it is.
Wide receiver, it clearly 2021 was better, based solely on Jacoby Brissett and Jacoby Myers being there. But otherwise, it was Nelson Aguilar, Kendrick Bourne, N'Keal Harry, Jacoby Myers, Gunnar Olszewski. Whereas last year, obviously, it was Kendrick Bourne, Javon Baker, Keyshawn Boutte, Demario Douglas, KJ Osborne. Like it's 2021, but like we don't need to act like the 2021 wide receiver core was like the greatest in the world or anything like that.
There were 4 guys with more than 50 targets: Jacoby Myers,
Right.
Hunter Henry, Kendrick Bourne, Nelson Aguilar. And it's like you basically had that without Myers last year. So
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You basically replaced Jacoby Myers with like
and
Keyshawn Boutte.
it's not like he was barely better than everyone else. He was significantly the number 1 target on that. He had
And Kendrick
126
Bourne
targets.
was much better that year than he was in 2024.
That's correct. But Myers had 126 targets leading the team. Second was Henry with 75. So 51 fewer targets. See that math? And 33
Good.
more receptions. And I mean, Bourne had 800 yards. So that was pretty good.
Yeah.
But Myers was leaps and bounds better than anything they had last year.
Should have kept him over Juju Smith-Schuster. I didn't think anyone could have possibly imagined that it would go as poorly as it did with Juju,
I
but
could.
you thought
He
he'd have
wasn't
200 yards last year?
okay. No, but he was not great on that Kansas City run, and he got hurt in the Super Bowl. And it was
Right.
like, or no, he got hurt in the he returned for the Super Bowl. Didn't he miss
Right.
the AFC Championship game?
Something like that, yeah.
He was injured late in the season with like a hip.
Yeah. No, like there were reasons to fear it, and there was reasons at the time to say like we should have just brought back Myers, but I still do contend that
He
like
wanted $1 million more, and you can't have
right.
that.
Yeah. Tight end. In 2021, you got Devin Asiasi, Hunter Henry, and Johnny Smith. In 2024, you had Jaheim Bell, Hunter Henry, Austin Hooper, Jack Westover. Which
I
one
think
you
you go
taking?
last year.
I think you have to, right?
And then
Johnny
you got
Smith.
it's
If
about
you're talking about the 2024 Dolphins version of Johnny Smith,
right.
but he wasn't that version with the Patriots. So
Mhm.
I think that Austin Hooper was a better player than Johnny Smith.
It's all because that Saints game in like week 3, he had 3 drops, one of which led to an interception. It was like, dude, and then he didn't get a target for like 4 weeks, I want to say. It was that was bizarre because Bill Belichick loved that guy.
Yeah.
And all you had to do, there was a play in the preseason where it's like, that's what they're going to do. They're going to throw a shallow crosser and he's going to be full speed and then he's going to gain 12 yards. You know, like you weren't looking for like huge plays. You were just looking for like a 2-yard crosser where he can cut it up and move the chains. And he couldn't do that. It was crazy.
No. He had 1 touchdown in 2 seasons with the Patriots. About 550 yards, and he had 884 yards and 8 touchdowns with the Dolphins last year. Was also better with the Falcons than he was with the Patriots. So that didn't work out. Do we even bother going through the offensive line? Because the offensive line was clearly better in 2021.
Yeah.
Even though it was like Trent Brown, Isaiah Wynn, Michael Winu, Shaq Mason, and Ted Karras, and a healthy David Andrews. Okay, so defensive tackle. You had a rookie Christian Barmore.
You're deep
You had
in
Carl
there,
Davis, Devon Godshaw, Lawrence Guy back in 2021.
Yeah.
In 2024, you had Daniel Aquale, Devon Godshaw, Eric Johnson, Jeremiah Farms,
2021,
and Christian Barmore, but he was out with blood clots most of the season.
2021.
Yeah. It's that 2021 crew of defensive tackle is not like the greatest, but they're definitely better than last year's. At linebacker, you had, or edge defender, you had Chase Winovich, Dietrich Wise, Matthew Judon, Josh Uche, Kyle Van Noy. Yeah, I give that to 2021.
Yeah.
Linebacker, you had Juwan Bentley, Jamie Collins, Dante Hightower, Brandon King, Jelani Tavai,
21.
Kyle Van Noy, gotta go 2021.
Defensive backfield's interesting.
Cornerback's a little interesting. Cornerback, you had Justin Bethel, Miles Bryant, J.C. Jackson, Jawan Williams, and Jonathan Jones was hurt for most of that season. Whereas last year, obviously, you had Marcus Jones, Christian Gonzalez, Jonathan Jones, Isaiah Bolden, Alex Austin, blah, blah, blah.
There's an interesting number in the 2021 backfield, and that number is 23. Do you know what number that is?
No.
The number of passes defensed by J.C. Jackson. 23.
He was so good that year.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
23.
Oh, they also had Jalen Mills in 2021.
I mean, Gonzalez is the big swing in this one, but
I know.
The totality, like to have Devin McCourty and the best
Well,
J.C. Jackson. Oh, you're just
we
doing
can get into safeties after this. Well, let's only talk about cornerbacks right now.
I would guess last year just because Gonzalez is so good, but
I
it's not like
know.
they sucked in 2021.
It's as close to a wash as you can get. I think I would go 2024
Mhm,
just because of how good Christian Gonzalez was and can be, but I also do think that we're kind of forgetting a little bit about how good JC Jackson was.
mhm.
Um, because during his Patriots career, he had 25 interceptions in those first 4 years. He
Crazy.
had 17 between 2020 and 2021. As you mentioned, he had 23 pass breakups. Like, he was not only kind of a lockdown guy there, but he was also a gigantic playmaker.
He was a second team All-Pro.
Yeah,
So,
real good player, got paid a lot. Unfortunately, career derailed after that. So,
but Gonzalez is better.
yeah. And then at safety, Kyle Duggar, Devin McCourty, Adrian Phillips. You can throw Jalen Mills in there. Um, it's got to be 2021 because
Sure.
Bill Peppers missed most of the season. Kyle Duggar wasn't himself.
And let's get to the All-Star, Jake Bailey.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Special teams.
Now, I
I
feel
ac-
like 2020 was Jake Bailey's peak.
exactly. I actually think special teams was better last year.
Yeah, he was bad in 2021. I forgot there was the huge crash to earth.
Nick Folk was better than Joey Sly, but Behringer was better than
Wow.
Bailey. And I think the Patriots special teams in general ranked higher last year based on like DVOA and all that stuff.
All right. All
But
right,
that's
we're
another
gonna
like
give it.
pretty close one.
Yeah.
But isn't
So
that kind of surprising based on what we know about last year's team that there's at
yeah,
least that many questions?
but the main takeaway from that exercise, and you know I love exercising, so I have no issues with what we just did. The position we just skipped completely was offensive line. So it's like that
Well, yeah,
is
no, that's yes, yeah,
if you want to have that optimistic viewpoint, like rock on, but
right,
you've got to watch this team now in February, March, and April build an offensive line that can make all of that possible
right,
because it's the one position out of all of them that we looked at and didn't even talk about because it was that significant of a gap.
yeah. Let's get into the next question then, which is how much value do you put on veteran wide receivers versus veteran offensive linemen? I am at the point. Well, first of all, I think the Patriots should try to add both
Mm,
this offseason. And I think they do have the money for it. But I think I would place possibly even a higher priority on bringing in some veteran offensive linemen. Um, just because it's such a great need. And I think that between like Ronnie Stanley, Alaric Jackson, Dan Moore, Jedrick Wills, like there's enough tackles out there that you kind of have to grab one of them, right?
yeah, and you don't want it's to me when I look at veteran offensive linemen, on the end, you don't wanna whoa, we just flashed.
I
Uh,
know.
I hope you get a thumbs up over your head at some point. On the one hand, I look at veteran offensive linemen as ticking time bombs when it comes to injuries because of how physically demanding that job
Yeah.
is and how huge those men are. And like you see them walk in the locker room and they're hurting constantly. And so as you add the years and years, and if someone's 30 and they've been playing tackle in the NFL for the past 8 years, you're like the quads, the hips, the knees, there's such a grind that there is the threat or concern that you invest a lot of money in a player who's on the brink of breaking down. And it's not the player's fault. It's just
Mhm.
sort of it's a tough spot to be in. But on the other hand, how many guys have been drafted? And I'm not talking like top five. How many guys have been drafted in the first 3 rounds of the draft? They're like, this guy can step in day one
Right.
starter and cannot
Yeah.
because the NFL is friggin' hard.
Yeah.
And there's people that project 7 different ways to being a stud or even just a solid day one starter that never quite fill that out. And you can't know that until you know it.
Right.
So putting all your eggs in either basket is a risk. And I think if you're in the Patriots position where you have some draft capital and you have $100 million, you kind of do have to do both.
I agree. I also think that it's a good point about veteran offensive linemen. I also think that if you're getting the right guy, they're able to play through those injuries a little bit better than if a wide receiver gets injured. Whereas like last year, you saw
True.
Brandon Ayuk and Stephon Diggs and Tank Dell and all these guys go down with injuries. And when wide receivers get injured, especially if it's like a knee injury, like it seems to typically be, it's like, okay, they are gone. They're out for the year. You no longer have that player now. And then even in like T. Higgins' case with like the hamstring injuries, when he tweaks a hamstring, he can't play for a few weeks.
Right.
If let's say like Ronnie Stanley tweaks a hamstring, he's probably going to try to play through it a little bit better. And like it was
true.
Logan Mankins, right, who played through a torn ACL the whole year.
He had a torn ACL for all of 2011 and then tore his other ACL in the playoffs and still played in the Super Bowl.
Right.
So it's like
It,
they're dudes.
they are, and like without like the cutting and everything they have to do, like not to take away from the ability to do that, but like clearly a wide receiver can't play with a torn ACL, but a quarterback or an offensive lineman, given certain situations, possibly can if they're dudes, as you
Yeah,
mentioned.
they're dudes. I was thinking, as I was trying to use an example, thinking and researching on the fly, difficult. But remember when the Chiefs got Kingsley
Yeah,
Matea,
right.
and everyone here was kind of like, that's the guy, and the
Yeah.
Patriots ended up with Caden Wallace. I just looked it up. Kingsley, I don't know how to is it Sua Matea?
I knew at one point, I no longer do.
His PFF grade last year was 39.4, which ranked 137th out of 141 tackles. So it's one of those things. He looked like a pick that,
Yeah.
people wanted and made sense. And then as a rookie, it doesn't always pan out exactly. Now, granted, he was probably the 11th tackle taken, not the top 5, but I think that's the point is it's nothing new to say it's a crapshoot in the draft, but it's so demanding. And I think, people like us, having spoken to Dante Scarnecchia over the years and sort of like learned under that, we're probably going to lean toward veterans over rookies just because of all the demands and complications
Right.
of the position. But you do need both. You do need both.
On Kingsley S, I'm not sure if you recall this, but the Chiefs offensive line looked really bad in the Super Bowl. He was not playing because he had played so poorly early in the season, and the Chiefs decided that it was better to move Joe Tooney from left
Mhm.
guard to left tackle and start like Frank Caliendo or whoever it was at left guard in his place. So
It was
I
Frank
think that
Kelly.
I think that is telling of how little the Chiefs trusted
Mhm.
Kingsley S by the end of the season. I'm actually kind of curious to see what even happens there because, like, if you're that bad, if you are that untrustworthy, that like you don't even, it's not even consideration to play him.
Right.
Like, what goes on with that guy in the future? Do they have to trade him? Do they have to cut him? Like, what happens there? Like, I don't know if you can. I don't know if you go from there to starter in 1 year. Like, and obviously you could say the same thing about like Keen Wallace and some of the guys the Patriots drafted, but like, yeah, it just speaks to the whole point of it can be very hard to draft offensive linemen. And like in the Will Campbell case, it would be so great if there was an offensive tackle who's worth the 4th overall pick in this draft, but it doesn't seem like there is.
Mhm.
So I think the worst thing that you could do then at that point would be to force it and wind up with Evan Neal as your tackle, like the equivalent of Evan Neal, and then spending all that draft capital on an offensive tackle and still not having an answer there.
I was going to
Yeah.
go to Campbell next because I looked up Kingsley S's arm length,
Oh,
34 and a quarter.
okay.
Now there's
Meets the
rumors.
threshold.
There's rumors Campbell's only what, 33? We'll find
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
We're going to be arm length chat for the next couple months. Like this may be a source of strife for us in the podcast. I am not a big combine pro
Right.
day measurements, and that might change this year. I might really lock in. I want to physically see them measure Will Campbell's arms. I want to see all this stuff because it's a big deal. It's going to, like, if you do spend the 4th pick on him and say he
Yeah.
ends up being a really good guard, that's
Right.
not a good use of the 4th overall pick.
No.
So it's you're right. If Joe Alt was there, we would not have a conversation probably.
No.
But I think you have to have the conversation now.
I do think it's tough with Trey Smith also, who's obviously the top veteran guard available. He's primarily been a right guard for most of his career. I think all of his career. And that's Michael Wenu's best position. So if you're bringing in Trey Smith, I guess you can move Owenu back out to right tackle. And it's like, but how many times do you want to do that dance with Michael Wenu? You know?
Snip, snap, snip, snap. I think you're kind of like theoretically, right? Pie in the sky. in a world where Cole Strange has gotten his body to an NFL level where it's not going to get broken immediately, you could have an interior line that is generally reliable in Andrews, Strange, and Onwenu. So, like, you can actually focus on getting maybe do they use the word swing guard? You always hear about swing tackle. Can I get a swing guard? You want
a swing guard.
You want to get like the next Ted Karras who can step in at any of those three interior positions, which shouldn't be that hard. I'm sorry. Like, you should be able to find a playable interior lineman in the NFL. And then you focus all your energy and free agency in the draft when it comes to the O-line on the outside at the tackles. And you need 2 or 3. No big deal. Those are easy to find, right?
Oh yeah, that's easy. And you would think that, finding a swing guard would be easy, but in the last 2 drafts, the Patriots have taken Jake Andrews, City So, what was that fella's name? Antonio Mafi, Layden Robinson. Whole lot of guys who should have potentially been swing guards and I don't think they've hit on any of them so far. We'll see how Doug Marrone and Josh McDaniels and Mike Grable feel about Layden Robinson. But it really felt like a lot of last year was the Patriots, like Mayo and Alex Van Pelt and Scott Peters, like forcing him to play because they wanted to hit on a draft pick. They wanted to hit on one of their rookies. I think that there will be less importance placed on that by the new regime because they did not have anything to do with taking Layden Robinson.
True. I mean, not entirely, because, it seems like a lot of the front office is staying, but perhaps the new voices will say this guy's no good. But when I mentioned Cole Strange, it's like that's the risk of overdrafting at a position.
Oh, yeah.
If Cole Strange was taken in the 4th round, no one would care that he's had the career he's had. But when you draft that, even that was 29th. And when I say get his butt, like, he played at Chattanooga blocking Doug Kyed and Mike Hurley, and then he has to come in and block, Brandon Graham or wherever, whoever's coming up the middle. And it's like, this is different. And I don't think his body has held up to that. And that's why you take guys from big programs and not Chattanooga, but not to relitigate.
How long do you think your arms are? Do you think your arms are proportionate to your height?
Well, I'm really tall, as you know. I'm pushing 5'9" on a good day. I would say my wingspan is pretty small. I've never been measured, as you can imagine. You want to know something about me in my football career? So I don't know what year it was, junior year, senior year. We had to show up and practice in t-shirts and shorts and the helmet, and we did a lot of testing. We had to run the shuttle run and pass it in a certain time, which everyone was puking after. It was fun. I love it. Go football. And then we did just a broad jump where you stand still, and jump. So I did my first one. It wasn't very impressive. And then I did my second one, and the coach just goes to me, he goes, "Hey, Hurley, you see that room over there?" And I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "That's the weight room." And I was like, and everyone was laughing. And I was like, "What do you want from me?" I'm like 5'7", like 150 pounds. I'm not going to jump that far, jerk.
I've said this before. I don't think I've ever said it on this podcast. I truly think that, like, even more than a 40-yard dash, the broad jump is like the biggest indicator that football players are just so much more athletic than anyone else. Like guys broad jump over 11 feet. like
they can jump down my hallway.
Stand still and jump forward. The average person is probably going to get 7 feet.
You think 7?
6 to 7 feet.
Who was it? I remember pre-draft videos. I want to say Myles Garrett. It may be all the way back to JJ Watt. Maybe it was multiple people where they jumped out of I think it was JJ Watt jumped out of the pool. The shallow end.
Yeah.
Put his butt down and just jumped out of the
pool.
Like
offensive linemen can do that sometimes. It's crazy.
Yeah. Try that. Actually, don't wear a helmet, wear full pads, because you're going to smash your face open. But yeah, no, they're freaks. I don't know. I never quite made it. You asked my arm length. I'm going to go with short. I'm going to say short arms.
This is kind of one of those questions that everyone is hitting on, but we might as well do it. Do you think Drake May has shown enough for a free agent wide receiver to want to sign with the Pats? In my opinion, wide receiver is one of their weakest positions. I hope they address it. That was from R Cool Water. I don't know. I don't know if he got to that point last season. You would hope so. I think he provides more excitement and upside than obviously someone like Mac Jones had. But realistically speaking, he's not Josh Allen yet. He's not Joe Burrow. He's not Patrick Mahomes. So, like, I don't think you can fully say the answer is yes to that, right?
No, but I do think we might have said it on this podcast, but going to the Pro Bowl, such as it was probably a good thing in that regard
Right.
because to me, and now I'm just one man. I'm not here to evaluate people, but like he seems like a cool kid. You know what I mean? Like not,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
not oh my god, nice to meet. Mac Jones, for better or worse, was a different type player. I don't know that him going to the Pro Bowl would help, but I think Drake May getting to meet some guys and sort
Mhm.
of like mingle with some of the best in the game, whether or not he should have been there is a different story, but he was there. And I do think stuff like that can help. And then, conversations that we talked about, I think it was on this, was it like I said, was it Patrick Peterson? That was like, oh my God, he's the best player of all time.
Mm.
Oh no, it was on when I was on TV. They played this clip of so NBC Sports Boston like played this mashup of all their interviews at Radio Row and,
Oh
and
yeah.
stuff. And it was everyone praising Drake May like in ways that
Mm.
you and I wouldn't believe. It was crazy. And one of them was Patrick Peterson, who was like, this dude's real, blah, blah, blah. And I do think, let's say you're a younger player who knows someone like a veteran
Right.
cornerback or whatever. You might be
Yeah.
like, hey, what do you think of Drake May? Because the
Yeah.
Patriots are like, dude, that kid's good. Like, I do think there are steps that have been taken. I don't think, we saw for years Tom Brady was a magnet to everyone.
Right.
You're nowhere near that.
No.
But I do think initial steps have been taken. And probably if you can get just this might be, put it this way. Last year, you had to overpay to try to get Calvin Ridley. It didn't work.
Right.
This year, you're going to try to overpay to get T. Higgins. I don't know that it'll
Yeah.
work. If he can get a good receiver or two this year and build an offense and have it look good, it might be your last year of like severely overpaying to get someone to actually come to New England.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point. And yeah, I don't know if he's reached that level yet, but I do think that you're right. There are players that really respect him. I think that some players might be looking for like the next Josh Allen, and that would obviously be Drake May would be in that category. And Patriots have the money to spend, so that's the most important thing. Village Tax Idiot asked, "Will top tier free agents be willing to come to Foxborough if we are the highest bidder?" It's another kind of hot topic question that a lot of
All right,
people
say
have
that again.
gotten into.
I got
What?
distracted by the username. What was the question?
Will top tier free agents be willing to come to Foxborough if we are the highest bidder?
Yeah, usually, right?
Yeah, I mean, they did in 2021, and that was, like, after Tom Brady was gone. That was after
Cam
Bill
Newton.
Belichick was still here, but I think that Mike Vrabel brings his own weight into that conversation, and I don't know if they'll get every single guy, but all you really need to get is, like, 1 or 2 guys to shore up some key areas.
Yeah, if they're the top, but that's the point is they have to be the top bidder.
Right.
If
Yeah.
they're
Oh, yeah.
third, no one's gonna be like, "Oh, I don't know. They got banners from a while ago up there. That's cool. I'll
Right.
go there." Like that culture's gone and dead, so they have a long way to go in that regard. But if they are the
Yeah,
top
until you're a perennial Super Bowl winner, you can't get guys on a discount.
then there's things, Doug singular, that we're not gonna fully grasp, like the millionaires tax that seemed to come up last year. I don't know how significant that is, but
I think agents lean into it with players. I think they probably make them aware of all that stuff.
yeah, and I know like Florida has no income tax in Texas
Right.
and Washington State, I wanna say, and so to me, that's a reason like Kraft used as an excuse why they didn't get Ridley because they had to go above and beyond what anyone else would, and then it still kind
Yeah.
of evens out. But I don't know. That seemed more of an excuse than anything else. But maybe
I
I'm
don't
wrong.
want
Maybe
the
I'm a moron.
I
Ask Village Tax Idiot that.
I don't want this to become tax chat. But whenever like these and like I this is a dangerous conversation to get into. But whenever like this subject is broached of like, oh, this state and this state and this state don't have like state income tax. I'm like, well, how do they bring in money the way that
Yeah,
other states do? And I know that other taxes then become higher, like real estate tax would become higher and all those things. And like this is something that I could probably pretty easily like Google and figure out. But there
yeah.
is that dumb part of me that's like, how? Like, how is that possible?
Yeah, I mean, they get you one way or the other. Let's be
Right.
real. Like, they might
Yeah.
not take it out of your paycheck, but
Right.
through X, Y, and Z, the one thing about government, Doug, this is government chat. They're gonna get their money from you one way or the other. I've found that to be the case. One time, I filed my own. Well, I always file my own taxes, but one year I need Village Tax Idiot actually to help me because I'm a moron. But I had a typo in my tax return, and there was like a missing digit, and
Yeah.
so instead of claiming like I don't know just 50,000. It was 5,000. And like
Ooh.
2 or 3 years later, I got audited. I got
Oh,
a
wow.
notice in the mail, and they're like, "You owe us $650." And I was like, "What?" And I called TurboTax, and I'm going through line by line with the guy. He goes, "Oh, I see here, there's a missing zero." And I'm like, "Dude, this was 2 years ago." And the government's like, "We need that $650, you bastard." So, um,
Well, like, I know they make the jokes every year, but, like, the government knows how much you owe. Like,
oh yeah, you just
but
figure
then
it
they
out.
still make you go through this entire process. Like,
Do
just
you wanna
tell us.
know a crazier thing? I was on a jury once for a murder, a double murder. It's fun. Don't ever do that, by the way. Just get out of it. Don't ever do it. Um, that's
Don't do
bad.
the murder or don't do the jury duty.
Either one. I
Okay.
mean, definitely the murder, but, like,
Yeah.
it's bad. Like, they take advantage of you. Anyways, it was a long trial, and so we got, I think, a $50 stipend every day
Right.
to make up for what, I don't know. And so after 3 days, you get like a $50 stipend, and it was like 2, 3 weeks, and they give you a check at the end of the week. So if you were there 5 days, you get a $150 check, and then you deposit it, and then you live your life. And then tax season comes, and like, oh, actually, you owe taxes on that. And it's like, just don't give it to me. Just give me
Right.
like $36.
Yeah.
Don't give me $50 a day. Just figure
Right.
it out. Just figure it out.
Have you done your taxes this year yet?
No, I'm usually early, but I am so we have outed ourselves. We don't make $1,000,000, so we don't know the millionaire's tax inside out. So now everyone's going to think less of us. But I feel like I've done my taxes wrong for like a long time, and
Hmm.
I've lost out on someone. I don't know. I should get a professional. I should just do it.
Yeah.
What about you?
I haven't done them yet. My mom's gonna probably listen to this. My mom always pressures me to get them done like super early. And last year she was like, "You got them in late last year." I was like, "Mom, we got them in at like the end of March. Like that's not like there's an actual late and we were not
Right.
late." So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That I also have to. We're kicking around the idea of international travel this summer, and I
Wow.
was looking into passports because our mine's super expired. To get a family of 5 passports was gonna be like $750. It's like,
Wow.
sick.
Gotta add that into the trip total.
Yeah, it's kinda like maybe we won't ever go away. Maybe we'll just, upstate New York is lovely in the summer.
It's only a 3-hour drive.
If you
Um,
wanna go to an island, Puerto Rico, you don't need the passport to go there.
that
700
is very
bucks.
true.
Anyways.
Um, we could do this last one. We kind of touched on this already, but Crafts Rob, would you rather solve OT need in free agency or the draft? Me, not many free agent skill positions this year. I think that's what you focus on drafting. Will Campbell at 4 seems like a stretch. I would agree that I think, and we already touched on this, sign as many offensive tackles as possible. Try to acquire free, like some veteran wide receivers, but it does feel like throughout the years there have been a lot of hits on like second, third round wide receivers. I think that as long as you're taking the right guy, which the Patriots have struggled to do in the past, then you might have a decent success right there. And I actually think that it would be smart to take a running back in either like the third or fourth round this year because it's known to be a stacked class of running backs. I think it's smart to take one of those guys every few years. And yeah, you just spent a lot of money on extending Ramondre Stevenson, but like if you can get a better guy, if you can get like a serious playmaker at running back in the third or fourth round, might as well take a swing there.
Yeah, and I'm thinking they had that run of success of taking second, third, fourth round backs, that hit, and then they kinda hit that cold spell. They took Pierre Strong and Kevin Harrison the same year, and then
Right.
haven't done it since then. So that's a position where you get old fast.
Yeah.
I don't think Ramondre Stevenson got old last year. I don't know what the hell happened to him. I know
Right.
the line was the line, and he was gonna struggle to produce, but the fumbles on top of that were a bit insane. I mean, remember week 1, we were like, "Well, we're a running team. We're gonna run, take them to the hill." But they do need to probably replenish that with guys that hit, and it shouldn't like Damian Harris was a third round pick.
Right.
Stevenson was a fourth round pick. So
Yep.
you do probably need to throw a pick there. I kind of like the thought process in that question in that outside of T. Higgins, there's probably not a lot of free agent skill positions that you're going to go crazy for. Now
Right.
there might be some trade guys.
Yeah.
AJ
Yeah,
Brown.
that's the big thing. Yeah.
I don't know if you saw AJ Brown's like winning kind of sucked.
I was gonna ask you about that if you saw that. That was like that was a pretty wild
I'll
caption.
quote it. I'll quote
Yeah.
it because
It was long, but yeah, please
it
quote.
was his Instagram post. Let me see. Here it is. Oh, it was on Philly Nation, but I gotta find it. Oh, here it is. Ready?
Yeah.
This is AJ Brown's Instagram post. It's a picture of him scoring a touchdown. It says, let me move this. After a few days, I've had time to reflect on being a champion. All right, yeah, cool. I tried to feel how everyone made it seem to be a champion, and unfortunately, it was short-lived. 2 days to be exact. LOL. I never been a champion at the highest level before, but I thought my hard work would be justified by winning it all. It wasn't. My thrill for this game comes when I dominate. It's the hunt that does it for me. It's when the DB drops his head and surrenders because he can't F with me. The intense battles, early mornings, late nights, sacrifices. I love putting smiles on people's faces. Don't get me wrong, but it just wasn't what I thought it would be. It's the journey that I love the most. Back to work. I appreciate the honesty. It's an interesting thought. The Eagles account liked it, but
Really?
I don't recall. Can you recall a player ever saying anything like that after winning the Super Bowl?
I kind of relate to him in some ways because like sometimes things don't live up to your expectations. You know what I mean? And
Right.
like,
And that game sucked a fat ass.
right.
Like there was no
So
thrill in that game.
I can relate in that way of being like, oh, everyone like hyped this up to be this big thing, and it didn't really feel that way for me. But I do think like maybe I'm just nitpicking. Maybe I'm reading into it more than I should. But like the real line that sticks out to me is like the dominate factor. What was the line there? What was the quote?
I'll tell you the quote, Doug. It was, I got my camera. My thrill for this game comes when I dominate. It's the hunt
So
that does it for me.
So I feel like what he's really saying is like, I like when I get a lot of targets. I like when I have huge games.
I like
I
to
like when I
compete.
finish a season with 1,500 yards. I feel like then he tried to kind of save face by being like, it's the hunt that does it for me. It's the preparations, all these things. It's like, no, I think you just kind of prefer individual success to team success. Um,
It's weird. Usually it's like all those late nights and sacrifices are worth it because I'm a champion now.
right.
But
Yeah.
I think like the only comparable thought, and Brady has sort of touched on it over the years, but it's such a very different thing. Winning in New England became sort of the expectation and the
Right.
baseline
Yeah.
that it was more like when you don't win, you're pissed
Yes.
and devastated. And when you do win, you're like, all right, that's what we should be doing.
Right.
But that was
Exactly.
because of a culture established over 10,
Right.
15, 20 years. This is a bit, but I do think, let's say it was 17-14 Chiefs with 2 minutes left, and AJ Brown ran like a go route and beat
Yeah.
McDuffie for a touchdown to win the game, and the confetti starts falling, and that like it's a different. He probably feels differently like that. I almost felt bad for the Eagles on the sideline trying to act excited in the fourth
Right.
quarter
At the end of the
because it
game.
was
Yeah.
just such. It was like a preseason game, so that has to be a factor too. Like that game was
Yeah.
useless.
I think if he wound up with more than 43 yards in the game, he might feel a little bit different too. But no, I mean, if he doesn't like being with the Eagles, like if he doesn't like being on a run first team where he has to share targets with Devontae Smith, I'm sure the Patriots would take him.
I know a
So
team that will give him 150 targets
who
tomorrow.
apparently whose head coach apparently has a strong relationship with AJ Brown as well. So
Strong for now. I mean, it doesn't seem like, once he's on your team, it feels like things might get tense, but I feel you.
but no, like him, DK Metcalf, obviously Cooper Cup's been out there, float around. Debo Samuel probably wouldn't be quite as exciting, but he would be in the potential mix as well. Just like there are some trade candidates that if you don't land T. Higgins, there are still some guys out there that you could potentially get.
I have a mailbag question for you that you're not ready for because you just mentioned Cooper Cup, and I realized it was either last night or the night before. I had a dream. Cooper Cup signed a deal with the Los Angeles Angels. So he
Wow.
got to stay in LA, and they were a football team in this dream. I was like, oh, he gets to stay in LA. That's a good deal for him. So what do you think about that? What do you make about that signing?
What do I think about the Angels converting to a football team and signing Cooper Cup? I think it's a good move.
Mike Trout probably has a year or two left in football athleticism in him. Maybe like a fullback, an athletic fullback type of role.
Yeah, I think that he's got the
Too
right
short.
build for. He could be
Is he too
Christian
short to be a
McCaffrey.
tight
He
end?
could be.
Oh, he's
Was
not
that?
small enough. Is he too short to be
He's
a
like
tight end?
6'2", I think, right? I don't think he's tight end size.
Yeah, he's more like a he's not. I mean, he's built, but I don't think he's like fullback, but more like a running back fullback, like
Yeah.
a Peyton Hillis maybe. He could be Peyton Hillis, not to typecast.
Yeah, oh yeah, 6'2", 235. He's a big fella. Um, Mike Trout's career is proof to me that there's just never gonna be like a perfect athletic career. You know what I mean? Like,
because of
for
injuries and
some reason,
being on this terrible
something
team.
always happens where someone gets injured. Like, Willie Mays might be the closest to having like a
Right.
perfect baseball career.
Yeah. Well, in our
Um,
life, it was like Griffey should have been the perfect.
Griffey should have been, but he got hurt when he was like 30. And now Mike
So was
Trout is
Chris.
when he should be, and he got hurt when he was 26 or whatever it was.
Hmm.
Mickey Mantle
Shohei's
got
already,
hurt.
Shohei's been injured multiple
Shohei's
times.
gotten injured. Barry Bonds did a bunch of steroids, so he's not
It's
considered.
pretty sick, though.
Yeah.
It was
Should be in the
cool.
Hall of Fame. IMO.
I agree.
Did we ever do Hall of Fame chat? Eli Manning didn't get in.
Oh, did we not follow up on that?
I don't think we ever
We did.
followed up.
Yeah, I was surprised that he did so poorly. Finished outside of the top 7, right? That's all
Yeah,
we know because the top 7 automatically get entry to be a finalist next year.
right.
Um, I think we are in agreement that he like shouldn't be a Hall of Famer, but will be a Hall of Famer.
Pretty
Um,
much. Yeah.
I thought there'd be more people, but I guess there's enough people in that room of the fart sniffers, I call them, that decided not even close to being ready. Now, the Vinatieri thing is almost kind of funny because everyone was like, "Oh, he's not a-" and like I agree, it's so stupid to be
Yeah.
like, "Well, he's a Hall of Famer, but not a first ballot guy." That's ridiculous. But he's a kicker, and so if a kicker has to wait a year or two, it's not the end of the world. Like this is a sport played by gladiators and warriors, and it's like he was a great kicker. He can go in next year. I'm not gonna pitch a fit about it.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Who was the fella who became a finalist over Robert Kraft?
Oh, did he not make it? He
He
didn't
didn't
make
make it.
it.
After
Right.
all of that, he didn't make it.
Oh, who was it?
I want to close the
Oh, we did a whole podcast on
I
it.
know I wanted to I don't know what the phrase is, but like end the
Uh,
loop on that as well.
I'm gonna get it right here. Give me a second. It was hold on. Right, who was it? Instead, the Ralph Hay, the car owner.
Ralph Hay didn't make it. After all that, Ralph
Ralph
Hay didn't even make it. So he'll be back in the mix next year. Ralph Hay.
Ralph Hay with the freaking car dealership where they
Yep.
held a meeting to start the
Yep.
NFL, where it's like he's got it. He's got to get this nod. Yeah, that's I didn't even think about Ralph Hay last week. That's crazy. I do think though on the voting, I brought this up last week. The fact that remember when it was during one of a retirement or like Gronk's retirement, I think it was when Gronkowski retired from the Patriots. Karen Garrigan interviewed some voters, some Hall of Fame
Mhm.
voters, and a number of them were like, I don't know if he's a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Right.
Like, and they were like saying, I don't know if Brady's going to be a first ballot Hall of Fame. It's like, you all need to go in a different type of room where someone just slaps you around and just stops with the nonsense. Like, it's ridiculous. Can I ask you a Hall of Fame question?
Sure.
Uh, Eric Allen,
Well, yeah, I was just looking at the list.
Hall of
So
Fame?
I really liked Eric Allen as a
Yeah,
kid,
sure.
but he was someone who struck me more as like a Hall of Very Good guy. And I would say the same thing actually about Sterling Sharp as well. I think there was a reason why Sterling Sharp didn't get in the first time around. Like he had some really fantastic seasons,
Yeah.
but he got hurt early in his career and never lived up to his top billing. I would say that Antonio Gates was an obvious one. Like he 1000%
Mm-hmm.
should have got in. He's one of the greatest tight ends of all time. Um, and then Jared Allen is someone that
He was a
I guess he was a
star.
four-time first team All Pro. So like I guess I guess he had 22 sacks one season. Like I guess that's another one where like he deserves it. But yeah, Eric Allen and Sterling Sharp, I was like, if like you only picked 4 guys and those were 2 of them, I don't know.
Is Sterling Sharp kind of like the latest Terrell Davis? Like, oh, if
Yeah,
his career was longer, he would be great. So you got to put him in. But I mean, he was great when I was a kid. So I'm not the best to necessarily have the full perspective. But I don't
Eric
know.
Allen was a 6-time Pro Bowler, 1-time first team All Pro, 2-time second team All Pro. I guess like people might feel the same way about Ty Law that you do about Eric Allen. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know.
so he had a bunch of interceptions. I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know.
And yeah, Sterling Sharp is the latest of the Terrell Davis ones, but Terrell Davis got in the first time around? And
Right.
like, and Terrell Davis was so impactful on those Broncos Super Bowl winning teams that
Yeah.
I think that plays that's why he got in, and that's why Sterling Sharp didn't the first time around?
And I guess Eric Allen's peak was before I was old enough to really I only knew the old Eric Allen, so maybe I never
Yeah.
experienced quite the Hall of Fame. He started when you and I were 2 years old and peaked when we were 9. So
Yeah.
we missed the bulk of his Hall of Fame resume, I guess. But I was a
But,
little
like, he played a long time. Like, usually when it takes that long for a guy to get in, it's like, did he
he
actually
retired in
deserve it?
2001.
Yeah.
That's a weird one. It's a weird one. That's all. It
He
was
was,
all
probably playing in the Snowball that year
he
for the Raiders in
was
2001.
because he was part of Spygate. Now people don't know this. There was one of the Snowball documentaries that was made in the past 5-6 years.
Yeah.
Maybe it was I think it was an NFL Network one, and he was doing an interview, and it was the one where they had a terrible recreation of Brady throwing in the snow. It was awful. Um, but he heard the play call of Charlie Weiss yelling it into
Mm.
Brady, and he heard it, and then he yelled it and communicated it, so they knew the play coming on the actual tuck rule play, which is cheating, and is spying because even
Mm.
if someone's doing it out in the open, you're not allowed to observe it, and that is
Mhm.
punishable by a first-round draft pick and millions of dollars. So the Raiders should probably be retroactively punished for that. Maybe now that Brady's the owner, they will. They
I feel
love
like
punishing.
karma has taken care of that for the Raiders over the last, let's say, like 22, 23 years. But yeah,
True.
I'm with you.
That's true.
Yeah, so weird Hall of Fame class. I
Mhm.
don't think I don't know if people will be coming out to Canton, Ohio in droves for that Hall of Fame class.
Jared Allen will bring some Midwesterners out, I'm sure.
Mhm.
That's a quick trip
Mhm.
over from Minnesota.
Yep.
Do people do
But
that? People go to Canton for the induction? Yeah, I guess. In
yeah,
August. I love Ohio in August. Now that I'm, balking at the idea of buying passports, Ohio in August is a
it
possibility for the
sounds
family.
pretty good, right? Doesn't cost $700
It
in
probably
passports.
doesn't. So, alright.
Um
Hall of Fame chat. We did it. That's all I
yeah,
got for
all right.
now.
Well, yeah, like I said, I'm going to Disney World
Good.
next week, so we probably won't have a podcast until Thursday or Friday. I'm doing okay on my pre-booking of the fast
Mhm.
passes.
Mhm.
Um,
You going
you know,
all 4 nights?
I got a 9:40 a.m. for The Little Mermaid.
Okay.
Gonna bang that one out early,
That's
be able to
is that
pick
your
up some of
burner? So that's your
that.
burner.
It is, but it's a good burner. It's not like
I
I had
like
to
that ride.
do. I didn't have to do like Aladdin's magic carpets or anything like that. You know?
Which is that's some carnival stuff, Aladdin. I
Yeah,
mean, let's be real. That Little Mermaid ride, fun family ride. Kids love
it
it.
is.
You hit
Olivia
that
loves
room with
it.
the under the
Then
sea.
I got Haunted Mansion and Tiana's Bayou Adventure that day as well. I
Okay.
got a Tiana, which was big. Not until 5:55 p.m., so it'll be a
It's
little
okay.
chillier by that point. My hope, though, is that we wind up getting the virtual queue for Tiana's, and then I'm able to change this to something else after I get the virtual queue. But I want to ensure that I have it just in case.
One thing,
So
Doug,
yeah,
um, I haven't been on that one, but when Guardians was somewhat new, I had the
yeah,
virtual queue and I ended up waiting like an hour. So
yeah,
it's sometimes you
that is
don't.
true.
It's kinda luck of how many people show up in their windows at that time.
Right. Yeah.
And so I had back-to-back Lightning Lane and the so I did the virtual queue and waited a long time,
Yeah.
and then did the ride, and then I did my Lightning Lane, and by that time, the virtual queue was empty. So it's
Oh.
it's luck of the draw, really, so
Yeah,
good luck.
that is very true.
Now
Um,
now, as an adult man, which you are,
mhm,
just there's, now 1 or 2 rides in every park that's, cool to go on,
yeah.
enjoyable. So are you gonna do those, or are you what are you gonna do?
Oh,
Like,
yeah, yeah,
Tron,
because
Guardians, I don't know if you're a Guardians guy.
I'm a huge. So I'm gonna probably try to go on Guardians twice. I'm probably gonna try to do the virtual queue and the Lightning Lane because Olivia loves Guardians.
Oh, I didn't know that.
We already have our passes for Guardians.
Okay,
Um, that's yeah, our Lightning Lane is at 11:30 for that one. So we're
nice.
getting that one in early. But we're also doing Spaceship Earth, Frozen After Ever After, and Figment. And obviously, these are just the ones that we have right now. We're going to be able
Mhm.
to add more throughout the day. This is still a stressful situation because I've never done it this way before, but we're going to power through it. We're going to figure it out. Tron, I will probably go on my own because Olivia's scared of that one. I might be able to convince her to go on it this year. We'll
Is
see.
she tall
Because she
enough?
loves Space Mountain. She loves Guardians. When we were in Disney World Paris, she went on multiple rides that went upside down. So
Yeah, Tron's quick too. If she doesn't like it, it's over in 10 seconds. So
That is true. Tron is fast. I don't know if Jen will be willing to go on it, but we'll see. But no, I'm feeling okay about it. I wish that I had some slightly earlier times, but I'm pretty good at like they call it fiddle faddling, where like you like
oh,
keep checking, keep checking, keep checking, get a time like really close to when you're trying to go. So we'll wind up going on everything. We go often enough too that like I'm not gonna break my neck over it, but
mm.
I think we're gonna
You know
be in
what?
good shape.
You know what grinds my gears about going to Disney World? I mentioned the Slinky Dog one the other day.
Yeah,
Is like the Peter Pan ride objectively sucks. Like it's a terrible ride.
yeah.
Kids like it because you feel like you're flying a little bit, but like, can we like the fact that that's like a high demand ride and you got to like go crazy to book it and the line's always an hour and a half long? It's like this ride sucks. Like, what am I missing?
Fortunately, like I if Peter Pan was as easy to get onto as Little Mermaid
Small
or
World.
Small World or like any of those dark rides, I would go on every time. But
Yeah,
because it's so goddamn difficult, we're like we've basically just been like, if we can get on it with ease, we will. But like it's a skippable one for us just because it's not worth the effort. It's not worth skipping Space Mountain to go on Peter Pan, you know?
you know what? I
So
actually was frustrated with my own goatedness last time because I was like, we did 2 days at Magic Kingdom. I'm like, girls, we might not do Peter Pan tomorrow. Like we did it already the other day. It
yeah.
might just be too much of a hassle. And then there I was, and I got a 9:30 time, and I'm
Whoa.
like, you know what? I'm just too
Wow.
damn good at this Disney
It's
game.
true.
So,
It's very true.
well, good luck and good luck with the new process and good luck with Universal Studios, which I've never been, so I can't weigh in.
Never been to the one in Orlando. I've been to the one in Hollywood a couple times. Can I tell you something that grinds my gears?
Mm,
I know you're a big exercise guy, big gym guy. There's a guy at my gym who will like audibly as loud as possible, like groan when he's working out. And he's
mm,
not like squatting 600 pounds. He also wears headphones and will sing audibly to the music he's listening to on headphones.
mm,
Like this person's just like an exhibitionist, right? He just
mm,
wants to be noticed. That's his
mhm,
issue.
mhm.
I don't know if there's a more annoying person in my life right now than this person. And fortunately, he's not at the gym like every time I go, but every time I see him there, I'm just like, God damn it. I have to listen to this idiot sing. I have to listen to
So
him like moan when he's doing his like leg extensions. It's like, come
I
on,
know
man.
that's really bad, but where are your headphones in this equation? Why are yours not on?
But like they're in, but they're not so loud or noise canceling that I can't hear this person still, you know?
So this is not a Planet Fitness, I take it, because that
No.
is not that is Lunk Alarm City, if I've ever heard of it, which I think they got rid of. You know, I've been to some new ones. They don't have the Lunk Alarm, probably
Mm,
lawsuits of
gotta
discrimination.
bring it back.
I used to love when the Lunk Alarm went off. That was that was the peak of working out. But yeah, no, there's nothing you can do either. You can't like you don't know what anyone else's situation is, so you just gotta
No,
grit
I'm
your
just like, whatever, this sucks. And I
that's
like
tough.
I can really only hope that someone else is gonna just like, do something. But
I would use it as an excuse to be like, well, I guess I can't work out today. It's just I'm
this
too
guy's
mentally.
here.
I guess I'll just go get a massage. So that'll work. That's tough.
Yeah, so that's what I'm dealing with. Hopefully when I go to the gym after this podcast, that guy's not there, but we'll see.
Sorry to hear that. I did have to talk about Newfound Glory real
Oh yeah,
quick.
yeah, yeah. I forgot about that.
He's and so I don't want to get too deep into it because this might appeal to like 5% of our listeners at
Well, we're
most.
we're in the area of the podcast. We're past 50 minutes, and nothing else we say at this point counts, so it's okay.
Good point. That's a good point. Um, I almost made a bad joke, but it's not. That's like 75 minutes. You can really get into like cancel culture. You could get canceled. Um, so you got me back on the listening to the Newfound Glory discography
Mhm.
train. So I threw Coming Home on.
Yes.
To say that album sucks is to not even begin to say it. Like it ruined my day. I had when you listen to music and you're driving and you're kind of bopping along, you might be singing along, you might be playing drums or whatever. I was like gritting my teeth, pissed. I couldn't
Mhm.
get through most of the songs.
It's tough. Yeah.
I would wait till the bridge after the second chorus, and at that point, if it wasn't hitting, I'm going to the next one. And it's just like if it were modern, if it didn't come out in what, '05, I would say this was made by AI. It's like almost Newfound Glory. It's like what Newfound Glory sounds like to computers and would just spit out just trash. It's slop. And if you like that album, not you, the general you, we don't like the same band. Like we don't. It's
Right.
crazy that album could be that bad, and now some people like it, and that's fine. But we don't like the same band, and we can't talk, and that's it.
I think that people only still like that album out of nostalgia. Like if they liked that album at the time, maybe that was the first album they listened to. I don't know what the excuse is, but just to like be like, oh, I'm in the mood to listen to New Found Glory and to put that on. Like there's so many other bands that do that better than they do. And
I
there's
don't know what
just,
that is. It was like their worst traits amplified. Like if you took I'd
I
Kill
think
the
they were trying to
Coliseum
be
shit
like
off the album,
Copeland or like the Spill Canvas or like one of those like more mid tempo emo-ish bands. You know what I mean?
like a little piano sort of.
Yeah.
I don't
But like
know.
they're a high tempo pop punk band. But every other album, they're like, you know what, we're gonna change our style and do something different. And when they do that, it's like, well, that didn't work out so well.
Well, and then the rebound of that was their little hardcore album, which had some decent songs on it, where it's like
Right.
they must have realized like that kind of sucked, huh? So
Yeah.
they came back with, I mean, it was weird and kind of jokey, but that little hardcore EP was at least
Yeah.
way more listenable than Coming Home.
I'm just realizing now that so I don't know how serious we are about all this stuff, but um we have talked about ranking all the New Found Glory albums, and I've been doing it on the side, but I'm just realizing that what was well, let me see here. I forgot to rank Radio Surgery.
Hmm.
Not one of their strongest efforts.
I don't know any songs from that one. I'd never really listened to that one. Did they have a
And
single?
this might surprise you. Coming Home is actually not my lowest ranked New Found Glory album. I am of the belief that Forever and Ever X Infinity is worse, Makes Me Sick is worse, and From Your Screen to Your Stereo 2 is worse than Coming Home.
I would disagree, but actually their worst album is their Christmas album.
Oh yeah, I didn't even bother to. That one's
Yeah.
really bad. We've said this before. We probably even said it on this podcast. At a certain point, their lyrics became so hit or miss, not to use a pun, that like some of them are like too embarrassing to even listen to.
Right. Their lyrics, certainly after they lost Steve Klein for undisclosed reasons, their lyrics certainly took a hit.
Yeah,
But I don't know. They make a lot of songs, so it's
they
not all.
do make a lot of songs. So at some point, sometimes the lyrics aren't going to hit that well.
Yeah.
What was
Forever.
the one I was sending you the other day? You like dancing to music?
You like dancing to music? That's Stay a While. It's not a
Yeah,
bad song outside of the lyrics.
it's
There's a few
real
songs.
rough lyrics.
There's a couple songs that are okay on that album, but I would never put anything below Coming Home. Maybe the Christmas album, but that's a different story. That is cringeworthy, impossible to listen to.
Have you listened to Makes Me Sick?
Makes me sick. No. Is that
There's
the one with the palm tree on it?
there's
Yeah, I've
palm
not.
trees on it. They have
I've not
like an
listened.
actual like Jimmy Buffett style song, I would say, on that album.
Yeah,
There's some
no,
rough stuff.
I was on a hiatus for a while there in the
Yeah,
2010s, and maybe that's why I liked the COVID album somewhat, because it was like
wasn't bad.
it was fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just had to get that Coming Home thing off my chest, because like it was an album I never like listened to personally, but I'd heard and other people listen to it, and it was like it made me sick, to borrow a term. It was disgusting.
We're just really throwing out a lot of
Puns.
I would say that, after Catalyst, it was all downhill from there.
Oh god. All right. Okay.
All right. Well, that'll do it for the Pat Chat
All right.
podcast and
Okay.
tax chat and pop punk chat and whatever other government chat we had. Make sure
Disney.
to listen, subscribe, rate, review, do all that fun stuff on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen and get your podcasts. And we will be back with you guys again, probably at the end of next week. Goodbye.